There comes a moment in life when silence teaches you more than words. A moment when your heart becomes tired of begging for love, respect, attention, and peace. And in that moment, you finally understand something powerful. Walking away is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is self-respect. It is the quiet strength of a person who has suffered enough and chooses inner peace over emotional chaos. Many people stay where they are constantly hurt because they fear loneliness. They fear being misunderstood. They fear starting again. But listen carefully. Remaining in a place that destroys your spirit is far more dangerous than walking alone for a while. A person who does not value your presence will never value your sacrifice. The more you chase respect from others, the more you abandon respect for yourself. You must learn to observe people calmly. Some people only love your usefulness. Some people only respect you when you are silent and obedient. Some people only call you when they need something from you. And if you continue to ignore these signs, life will continue to repeat the same lesson until you finally wake up. True strength is not forcing someone to stay. True strength is having the courage to release what no longer aligns with your peace. You do not need to fight every battle. You do not need to explain your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes the most powerful response is distance, quiet distance. Understand this deeply. Your energy is sacred. Your mind is sacred. Your time is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. The moment you begin to respect yourself, your standards change. Your boundaries become stronger. Your circle becomes smaller. And your life becomes lighter. Many people are emotionally exhausted because they continue watering dead relationships. They continue sacrificing themselves, hoping others will finally change. But wisdom teaches us this. You cannot heal by staying in the same environment that keeps breaking you. At some point, you must choose yourself. Walking away does not mean you hate them. It means you finally love yourself enough to stop accepting disrespect. There is a difference between being kind and being available for mistreatment. Never confuse patience with self-abandonment. A calm mind does not beg. A strong soul does not chase. A disciplined person knows when to stay and when to leave. This is maturity. This is inner mastery. Oh, the world will test your boundaries. People will test your patience. But life becomes peaceful when you stop trying to convince everyone to value you. Your responsibility is not to force love. Your responsibility is to protect your spirit. Do not be afraid of endings. Sometimes endings are the door that closes behind you is often protecting you from a future full of suffering. Trust this process. Trust the discomfort of growth. A tree must let go of old leaves before new ones appear. And every time you walk away from disrespect, manipulation, and emotional confusion, you reclaim a part of yourself. You remember who you are. You remember your dignity, and dignity is priceless. One day you will look back and realize the hardest decision was also the most necessary one, because peace entered your life the moment you stopped tolerating what disturbed your soul. Protecting your inner peace is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. Yet most people destroy their own peace trying to keep everyone else comfortable. They say yes when their heart is screaming no. They stay in places that drain their spirit. They continue conversations that leave them emotionally exhausted. And slowly, without realizing it, they lose themselves. Inner peace is not something you find in the outside world first. It is something you build within yourself through discipline, awareness, and courage, because peace is not the absence of noise. Peace is the ability to remain centered even when life becomes difficult. It is the quiet strength of knowing who you are and refusing to allow chaos to enter your soul. Many people think protecting their peace means escaping every challenge. No, life will always contain struggle. There will always be misunderstandings, disappointments, and moments of pain. But the problem is not only the difficulty itself. The problem is how long you allow unnecessary suffering to stay in your life after you already recognize it. Some people carry emotional storms everywhere they go. They complain constantly, they manipulate, they criticize. They create tension, confusion, and negativity. And if you are not conscious, their energy slowly becomes your energy. This is why awareness is so important. You must learn to observe how people affect your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. After spending time with certain people, do you feel inspired or drained? Do you feel calm or anxious? Do you feel respected or diminished? Your body often recognizes what your mind is still trying to deny. Inner peace requires honesty with yourself. A peaceful life demands boundaries. Not walls made from anger, but boundaries created from wisdom. You cannot allow everyone unlimited access to your emotions. You cannot continue sacrificing your mental well-being just to avoid disappointing others. Every time you betray your own truth for temporary approval, your inner peace weakens. There are people who only feel comfortable when you abandon yourself for them. The moment you begin protecting your peace, they call you selfish. Why? Because your boundaries no longer allow them to control your energy. Understand this clearly. Choosing peace is not selfish. Constantly destroying yourself to satisfy others is not kindness. It is self-abandonment. A calm person understands something powerful. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves your anger. Maturity is learning where your energy should be invested and where silence is the wiser path. When your mind is constantly filled with drama, comparison, resentment, and emotional noise, you cannot hear your own inner wisdom. This is why solitude becomes necessary sometimes. Silence allows you to reconnect with yourself. In silence, you begin to see clearly. You begin to recognize what truly matters and what was only distracting you. Many people fear being alone because they have never learned to enjoy their own presence. They constantly seek noise to escape themselves. But a strong person can sit alone in silence without feeling empty. They understand that peace grows when the mind is no longer addicted to external validation. Protecting your peace also means protecting your time. Time is life itself. Be careful where you invest it. Some conversations lead nowhere. Some relationships only repeat cycles of pain. Some environments slowly poison your spirit while pretending to offer comfort. You must have the courage to walk away from anything that repeatedly steals your calmness. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means becoming conscious. Kindness without wisdom becomes self-destruction. Compassion without boundaries becomes exhaustion. You can love people and still choose distance. You can forgive people and still refuse access to your life. A disciplined mind understands that peace is built daily. It is built through the thoughts you entertain, the people you allow around you, the habits you practice, and the standards you create for your life. Peace is not given to you, it is protected by you. The world will continue testing your patience. Some people will misunderstand your silence. Others will dislike your boundaries. Let them. You are not responsible for making everyone comfortable at the cost of your own spirit. Because, in the end, a peaceful soul is more valuable than temporary approval from the world. One of the most painful things a person can do is beg for respect from those who have already decided not to value them. Many people beg without using words. They beg through over-explaining. They beg through constant sacrificing. They beg by tolerating disrespect again and again, hoping one day the other person will finally appreciate them. But respect that must be forced is never real respect. The moment you begin chasing validation from others, you slowly disconnect from your own dignity. Your emotions become dependent on how people treat you, how they respond to you, how much attention they give you. And this creates suffering because your worth should never be placed in the hands of people who cannot even recognize their own value. A strong person understands this deeply. Respect begins within. If you do not respect yourself, you will continuously accept behavior that damages your spirit. You will tolerate dishonesty, manipulation, neglect, and emotional confusion because you fear losing people more than losing yourself. Look carefully at your life. Every time you ignored your intuition to keep someone close, peace disappeared. Every time you lowered your standards to avoid loneliness, your self-respect weakened. Every time you remained silent while being mistreated, a part of your confidence disappeared. Many people confuse love with attachment. They believe enduring endless disrespect proves loyalty. No, real loyalty should never require self-destruction. Real love does not constantly humiliate your spirit. A healthy connection inspires growth, honesty, calmness, and mutual respect. If someone repeatedly damages your peace while expecting unlimited access to your life, that is not love. That is emotional dependency. You must stop trying to convince people to see your value. This is one of the most exhausting battles in life. Some people benefit from misunderstanding you. Some people only appreciate you when you sacrifice yourself for them. And some people simply lack the emotional maturity to recognize sincere hearts. Do not waste your life trying to earn basic human respect from those who freely disrespect you. A disciplined mind knows when enough is enough. It does not beg to be chosen. It does not beg to be heard. It does not beg to be treated with decency. The more you value yourself, the less tolerance you develop for disrespectful behavior. This does not mean becoming arrogant. Arrogance screams for attention. Self-respect moves quietly. It walks away from situations that damage inner peace. It refuses to participate in emotional games. It remains calm without needing to prove superiority. There is great power in silence, not weak silence filled with fear, but strong silence filled with awareness. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is precious. Stop wasting it trying to force connections that no longer align with your spirit. Understand something important. People often treat you according to the standards you repeatedly accept. If you continue allowing disrespect without consequences, others learn that your boundaries are weak. But when you finally choose yourself, everything changes. Some people will disappear because they no longer benefit from controlling you. Let them leave. Not everyone is meant to remain in your life forever. Some people are lessons disguised as relationships. Their purpose was not to stay. Their purpose was to awaken your awareness and teach you the importance of self-respect. The fear of losing people keeps many individuals trapped in unhealthy situations. But what they fail to understand is this: losing yourself is far more dangerous than losing others. When you abandon your dignity to maintain temporary connection, your soul becomes heavy, anxiety increases, confidence weakens, peace disappears. A calm person no longer chases acceptance from everyone. They understand that rejection is not always a loss. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes distance is necessary for healing. Sometimes walking away is the highest form of self-respect. You cannot force someone to appreciate your heart. You cannot force someone to value your loyalty. And you should never have to beg for kindness, honesty, or respect. These things should flow naturally from people who truly care about your presence. The moment you stop begging for respect, you begin reclaiming your power. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places where you are not valued. You stop tolerating emotional confusion. You stop sacrificing your peace for temporary approval. And slowly, your spirit becomes lighter because dignity always brings freedom. Strong boundaries are one of the clearest signs of self-respect. Yet many people struggle to create them because they fear rejection. They fear disappointing others. They fear being called selfish, cold, or difficult. Protecting their peace, they allow people to cross emotional lines again and again until exhaustion becomes their normal state. A person without boundaries becomes emotionally available to everyone and spiritually connected to no one, including themselves. They constantly carry the weight of other people's problems while ignoring the damage happening within their own heart. They say yes when they are tired. They stay silent when they feel hurt. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. And slowly they begin losing their sense of identity. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. They are the quiet understanding that your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being deserve care. A wise person knows that not everyone should have unlimited access to their life. Some people enter your world only to consume your peace, drain your spirit, and leave confusion behind. This is why awareness matters. You must pay attention to patterns. Some people apologize but never change. Some people only contact you when they need something. Some people repeatedly disrespect your limits and then blame you for reacting. If you continue ignoring these signs, suffering will continue repeating itself. Strong boundaries require courage because they often disappoint people who benefited from your weakness. The moment you stop overgiving, some people will accuse you of changing, and they are correct. You are changing. You are no longer abandoning yourself to make others comfortable. Many people believe boundaries create distance in relationships. In reality, healthy boundaries create respect. They teach people how to treat you. Without boundaries, resentment grows silently. You begin feeling emotionally drained because you are constantly sacrificing your needs while pretending everything is fine. Rangyo, a peaceful person understands something deeply. Every yes to others is also a no to something within yourself. So before agreeing to anything, ask yourself honestly, does this support my peace or destroy it? Does this connection nourish my spirit or exhaust it? You cannot heal while continuously allowing toxic behavior into your life. Some environments destroy confidence slowly. Some conversations leave wounds that are invisible but heavy. Some people smile in front of you while quietly damaging your emotional stability. Protecting yourself from such energy is not negativity, it is wisdom. Strong boundaries also mean learning. When silence is necessary. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every emotional burden belongs to you. Mature people understand that inner peace depends greatly on what they choose not to engage with. There are individuals who become uncomfortable the moment you begin setting standards for how you should be treated. Why? Because boundaries expose selfish intentions. People who truly respect you will appreciate your honesty. Those who only benefited from your lack of boundaries will resist your growth. You must stop feeling guilty for protecting your mental and emotional health. The world teaches many people to constantly give, constantly sacrifice, constantly tolerate. But endless tolerance without wisdom leads to emotional burnout. A candle cannot continue giving light if it destroys itself completely. A calm mind knows the difference between kindness and self-neglect. You can be compassionate without allowing disrespect. You can love someone without accepting harmful behavior. You can forgive someone while still choosing distance. Boundaries are also important with yourself. Sometimes your greatest enemy is your own lack of discipline. Allowing negative thoughts to control your mind, allowing unhealthy habits to weaken your spirit, allowing fear to make your decisions. True inner strength begins when you stop giving weakness unlimited authority over your life. Life becomes lighter when your boundaries become clearer. Your relationships improve because they are based on honesty instead of silent resentment. Your confidence grows because you finally honor your own needs. And your peace deepens because you stop carrying emotional burdens that were never yours to begin with. Remember this carefully. People who become angry at your boundaries were often benefiting from your absence of them. Do not allow guilt to destroy the progress you are making. Your responsibility is not to satisfy everyone. Your responsibility is to protect the condition of your soul. Kank, a disciplined person understands that boundaries are not walls to keep love away. They are gates that allow healthy energy to enter while keeping destruction outside. And the moment you begin protecting your peace with strong boundaries, you stop surviving emotionally and finally begin living with dignity. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing words more than actions. Words are easy. Anyone can promise loyalty, love, honesty, or change. Anyone can speak beautifully when it benefits them. But actions reveal truth. Actions expose intention. Actions show the true condition of a person's character. A wise person learns to observe quietly instead of becoming hypnotized by empty promises, because life will teach you this lesson repeatedly until you finally understand it. Some people speak with kindness but act with selfishness. Some people say they care while continuously creating pain in your life. And some people apologize again and again without ever changing their behavior. When you ignore actions and cling only to words, suffering becomes unavoidable. You begin creating false hope inside your own mind. You start defending people who repeatedly disrespect you. You tell yourself they will change because their words sounded sincere. But peace cannot grow where actions continue creating emotional confusion. Observe carefully how people behave during difficult moments. Anyone can act loving when everything is comfortable, but pressure reveals character, hardship reveals intention. Pay attention to who remains honest when lying would be easier. Pay attention to who respects you when they gain nothing from it. Pay attention to who supports your growth instead of becoming threatened by it. Actions are the language of truth. Many people become trapped in unhealthy relationships because they fall in love with potential instead of reality. They become emotionally attached to who someone could become while ignoring who they consistently show themselves to be. This creates deep emotional exhaustion because reality and expectation are constantly fighting inside the mind. You cannot build peace on illusion. You must learn to see clearly. Okay? Some people will tell you exactly what you want to hear because they fear losing access to you. They know your kindness, they know your patience, they know your heart wants to believe the best in people. But wisdom means understanding that repeated behavior is more honest than repeated promises. If someone continuously lies, believe the pattern. If someone continuously lies, believe the pattern. If someone continuously disrespects your boundaries, believe the pattern. If someone only appears when they need something, believe the pattern. Do not become so emotionally attached to words that you ignore obvious truth standing directly in front of you. Okay. A calm and disciplined person observes without rushing to judge, but they also refuse to ignore reality. This balance is important. Blind trust creates pain, but constant suspicion destroys peace. Wisdom is found in quiet observation. Notice how people make you feel consistently over time. After conversations with them, do you feel peaceful or emotionally drained? Do their actions create security? Are they present only when life is easy, or do they remain when situations become difficult? Your intuition often recognizes danger before your emotions are ready to accept it. This is why inner silence is powerful. When the mind becomes calm, clarity increases. You stop being distracted by beautiful words and begin seeing patterns clearly. Many people stay too long in damaging situations because they keep waiting for actions to finally match the promises. But time is precious. Your life should not become a waiting room for someone else's maturity. Respect yourself enough to accept reality instead of constantly creating excuses for people who repeatedly hurt you. You get cansas. This does not mean becoming bitter or emotionally closed. It means becoming conscious. Conscious people do not easily fall into manipulation because they pay attention to consistency. They understand that real love is consistent, real respect is consistent, real care is visible through action, not occasional emotional speeches. A strong person does not need endless reassurance because truth naturally reveals itself through behavior. There is peace in this understanding. You stop chasing explanations. You stop overanalyzing every conversation. You simply observe patterns calmly and make decisions with clarity. Sometimes the hardest truth to accept is that some people know exactly how much pain they are causing, yet they continue because they prioritize their own comfort over your well-being. Once you recognize this, you must stop expecting transformation from those committed to remaining the same. Raycon. The world becomes less confusing when you stop listening only to what people say and start watching what they repeatedly do. Kenk. A disciplined soul understands that actions require effort while words require only sound. Anyone can speak about loyalty, Few people practice it consistently. Anyone can speak about respect. Few people maintain it when emotions become intense. When you begin observing actions instead of becoming attached to promises, your relationships become healthier, your decisions become wiser, and your inner peace becomes stronger. Again, because truth has always been visible in behavior for those calm enough to see it. Letting go without hatred is one of the highest forms of inner strength. Most people believe strength means holding on, fighting harder, or proving something to those who hurt them. But true strength often appears in silence. It appears in the ability to walk away without carrying bitterness inside the heart. Pain changes people. Betrayal changes people. Disappointment changes people. And many individuals allow these experiences to fill them with anger, resentment, and emotional heaviness. They replay old wounds in their minds every day. They hold on to hatred, believing it gives them power. But hatred does not punish the other person first. It poisons the one carrying it. A peaceful soul understands something deeply. Not every ending requires revenge. Not every betrayal requires destruction. Sometimes healing begins the moment you stop carrying emotional attachment to what already damaged your spirit. This does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It does not mean allowing disrespect to continue. And it certainly does not mean becoming weak or passive. Letting go without hatred means you refuse to allow negative experiences to transform your heart into something bitter. Many people remain emotionally connected to their suffering because they continue feeding it with anger. They replay conversations. They imagine arguments. They wait for apologies that may never arrive. And while their body moves forward, their spirit remains trapped in the past. You cannot create peace while emotionally living inside old pain. There are people who hurt others because they themselves are lost, wounded, unconscious, or emotionally immature. This does not excuse their behavior, but understanding this helps free your mind from endless resentment. A person acting from darkness often spreads darkness to everyone around them. Kaus, a wise person recognizes this and chooses distance instead of hatred. Hatred keeps unhealthy connections alive internally even after people have physically left your life. Dasher. You continue carrying them inside your thoughts, emotions, and energy. Every moment of resentment gives them continued control over your peace. Why give more power to what already harmed you? Real freedom begins when your heart no longer burns with the need to prove something. Sometimes the greatest victory is emotional detachment, calmness, clarity, silence. There is dignity in leaving quietly. There is maturity in accepting that not everyone will understand your heart. Some people were never meant to walk beside you for the entire journey. Their role in your life was temporary. Perhaps they came to teach you boundaries, awareness, patience, or self-respect. But once the lesson is learned, continuing to carry hatred only delays your healing. Many people confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. They believe forgiving someone means allowing them back into their lives. No. Forgiveness is an internal decision to release emotional poison from your own heart. You can forgive someone and still choose permanent distance. You can wish someone peace while understanding they no longer belong in your life. This is wisdom. Holding hatred feels powerful in the beginning because the ego wants justice. The ego wants recognition for the pain experienced. But over time, resentment becomes exhausting. It steals energy from your present life. It distracts your focus. It weakens your spirit. A disciplined mind refuses to become imprisoned by emotional bitterness. Observe nature carefully. A tree does not hold on to dead leaves forever. It releases them when their season ends. Human beings must learn the same lesson. Not every relationship, friendship, or connection is meant to continue forever. Clinging to expired connections only creates suffering. The calmer you become, the more you understand that peace is far more valuable than emotional battles. Some people will never apologize sincerely. Some people will never admit the damage they caused. So, Some people will continue blaming you because accepting responsibility would require self-awareness they do not possess. Accept this reality peacefully instead of fighting endlessly against it. Your healing cannot depend on someone else's transformation. Letting go without hatred requires emotional discipline because pain naturally wants reaction. But reaction often creates more suffering. A calm person learns to pause, breathe, observe, and release instead of allowing emotions to control every decision. You do not need to destroy others to reclaim your power. You reclaim your power the moment you stop allowing bitterness to control your inner world. Life becomes lighter when your heart is no longer carrying emotional poison from the past. Your mind becomes clearer. Your sleep becomes peaceful. Your energy returns to the present moment where growth can finally begin again. And perhaps the greatest sign of healing is this: when you can remember what hurt you without feeling the need to hate the person who caused it. Many people lose themselves because they become too attached to things that were never meant to define their worth. They attach themselves to relationships, approval, attention, status, and emotional dependency. And when those things begin to disappear, fear takes control of their mind. They panic, they chase, they beg. They abandon their dignity just to avoid feeling alone. But a wise person understands something powerful. Attachment without self-respect becomes suffering. There is nothing wrong with loving deeply. There is nothing wrong with caring, giving, or creating meaningful connections. The problem begins when attachment becomes stronger than dignity. The problem begins when you continue accepting pain because you are afraid to let go. Many people remain trapped in unhealthy situations because they confuse attachment with love. They believe needing someone intensely means the connection is special. But emotional dependency is not love. Love should bring clarity, peace, honesty, and growth. Attachment driven by fear creates anxiety, insecurity, and emotional exhaustion. When your happiness depends completely on another person's presence, moods, or validation, you slowly lose your inner stability. Your emotions become controlled by and this is dangerous because anything outside of you can change at any moment. Dignity begins when you stop abandoning yourself to maintain connection. A calm and disciplined person never sacrifices their self-respect for temporary emotional comfort. They understand that loneliness may hurt for a season, but losing yourself creates a much deeper pain. Every time you ignore your values to keep someone close, your spirit weakens. Every time you tolerate disrespect because you fear endings, your confidence slowly disappears. You must learn to stand firmly within yourself. There are people who sense when someone lacks self-respect. They recognize weak boundaries, fear of abandonment, and emotional dependency. And consciously or unconsciously, they begin controlling the relationship through inconsistency, manipulation, or emotional distance. Why? Because attachment gives power to the person least emotionally dependent. This is why inner strength matters. The more connected you become to your own peace, purpose, and identity, the less desperate you become for external validation. You stop chasing people who constantly create confusion. You stop begging for consistency from those committed to emotional games. You stop shrinking your standards just to avoid temporary loneliness. A strong soul knows their worth even in solitude. Many people fear walking away because attachment blinds them. They remember memories instead of reality. They focus on potential instead of... They continue hoping someone will become the version they imagined instead of accepting who that person repeatedly shows themselves to be. Okay? But reality always reveals truth eventually, and the longer you ignore truth, the heavier your suffering becomes. Choosing dignity over attachment means choosing clarity over illusion. It means accepting what is instead of desperately clinging to what you wish existed. This requires courage because the ego always wants to hold on. The ego fears endings. The ego fears rejection. But wisdom teaches us that not every loss is destruction. Some losses are liberation. There are connections that drain your spirit slowly while convincing you to stay emotionally attached. They give occasional attention, occasional kindness, occasional affection, just enough to keep hope alive. But hope without consistency creates emotional imprisonment. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not emotional survival. A peaceful person understands that love should never require self-betrayal. If someone repeatedly damages your mental and emotional well-being, attachment is not a reason to remain. Your inner peace matters, your dignity matters, your emotional health matters. And sometimes, protecting these things requires walking away even when your emotions still feel connected. K. This is one of the hardest forms of discipline because emotions often resist logic. The heart becomes attached to familiarity, routines, memories, and expectations. But maturity means recognizing that not everything familiar is healthy. You cannot continue sacrificing your future peace just because you fear temporary pain. Observe people who truly respect themselves. They are calm, they do not beg for attention, they do not chase endlessly. They do not force connections that no longer align naturally. They understand that what is truly meant for them will not require constant self-abandonment. There is power in emotional independence, not coldness, not isolation, but the ability to remain whole even when life changes around you. This creates stability within the soul. You stop living from fear and begin living from awareness. The moment dignity becomes more important than attachment, your entire life changes. Your standards rise, your choices become wiser. Your peace deepens, and you finally understand that no connection is worth losing yourself for. Walking away with calm confidence is one of the rarest forms of strength in this world. Most people either leave with anger or stay with fear. Very few people possess the emotional discipline to leave quietly, peacefully, and with dignity. But this kind of calmness does not come from weakness, it comes from deep self-awareness. A person who has truly mastered themselves no longer feels the need to create drama when something ends. They do not beg people to understand them. They do not chase closure endlessly. They do not destroy themselves trying to force others to change. Instead, they observe reality clearly, accept what cannot be controlled, and walk forward with inner stability. Okay, this is what calm confidence looks like. Many people remain trapped in painful situations because they believe walking away means failure. Their ego tells them that leaving makes them weak, that enduring endless disrespect proves loyalty or strength. But staying in a place that continuously destroys your peace is not courage. Sometimes it is fear disguised as patience. True confidence is knowing when enough is enough. There comes a moment in life when you stop fighting for spaces where your presence is not valued. You stop forcing conversations that lead nowhere. You stop chasing people who repeatedly show emotional inconsistency. And in that moment, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes quieter because you are no longer at war with reality. A calm person understands that attachment often creates unnecessary suffering. The more desperate you become to hold on to something, the more fear controls your decisions. Fear of abandonment, fear of loneliness, fear of starting again. But confidence grows when you realize that your peace does not depend on controlling people or outcomes. You begin trusting yourself. Walking away calmly requires emotional maturity because the ego always wants reaction. It wants revenge. It wants validation. It wants the other person to finally understand your pain. But inner mastery teaches a different lesson. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every misunderstanding requires explanation. Sometimes silence protects your dignity better than endless words. Observe strong people carefully. They do not waste time proving their worth to those committed to misunderstanding them. They do not force respect. They do not demand love. They simply recognize misalignment and move forward without unnecessary chaos. This calmness confuses many people because the world often associates strength with aggression. But the strongest individuals are usually the most centered. They understand that emotional reactions often create more suffering than solutions. A disciplined mind knows how to leave without hatred. This does not mean the absence of pain. Walking away can hurt deeply. Endings are rarely easy when emotions, memories, and hopes were involved. But pain handled with awareness becomes growth. Pain handled with bitterness becomes destruction. Confidence means trusting that peace is waiting on the other side of difficult decisions. Many people delay necessary endings because they keep hoping things will magically improve while ignoring repeated patterns. But wisdom means accepting reality before life forces acceptance through greater suffering. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is leave what no longer aligns with your well-being. And when you finally make that decision, do it calmly. Do not scream to prove your value. Do not beg to be understood. Do not lower your dignity trying to win emotional battles. Okay, simply walk away with clarity. There is enormous power in a peaceful exit. It shows emotional control. It shows self-respect. It shows that your spirit is no longer dependent on external validation. Calm confidence means understanding that your worth remains intact even when people fail to recognize it. A person connected to their inner peace no longer fears solitude. They know they can rebuild. They know temporary loneliness is better than constant emotional chaos. They know life becomes lighter when unnecessary suffering is removed. This understanding changes everything. You stop viewing endings as punishment and begin seeing them as redirection. You realize that every closed door creates space for healthier opportunities, deeper self-understanding, and greater peace. What once felt like loss slowly becomes freedom, and perhaps the greatest sign of growth is this. You no longer need the final word. You no longer need revenge to feel powerful. Your calmness becomes your power. Because walking away with confidence is not about proving something to others. It is about finally choosing yourself without guilt, without fear, and without emotional chaos. And the moment you can leave what harms your spirit, while keeping peace within your heart, you have already won the battle that truly mattered. At the end of this journey, remember this deeply. Your life changes the moment you stop abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable. Peace begins when you stop begging for respect. Strength begins when you create boundaries. Wisdom begins when you observe actions instead of empty promises. Healing begins when you let go without hatred. Freedom begins when dignity becomes more important than attachment. And true power begins when you can walk away calmly from anything that destroys your spirit. Never forget who you are. You were not born to spend your life chasing validation from people who cannot recognize your value. You were not born to carry emotional pain that keeps breaking your soul. You were not born to shrink yourself just to fit into places where you are not respected. Stand tall in your truth, protect your peace, trust your intuition, choose yourself without guilt. There will be moments when walking away feels painful. There will be nights when silence feels heavy. But every step taken toward self-respect is a step toward inner freedom. One day, you will look back and realize that the decision which once hurt your heart was the same decision that saved your soul. Life becomes beautiful when your mind is calm, your boundaries are strong, and your heart no longer depends on the approval of others. So move forward with courage, move forward with discipline, move forward with peace. And wherever life takes you, never lose the quiet dignity of knowing your worth. Good luck on your journey toward inner peace, self-respect, and true strength. May your heart remain calm, your spirit remain strong, and your path remain clear. Thank you for listening, and may peace always walk beside you.